The grand assembly hall of Sarkin Prime sparkled with the cold brilliance of 1,000 stars, its transparent dome revealing the swirling cosmos above. Ambassador Ren Carter of Earth stood at the edge of the stage, taking a deep breath as he reviewed his notes one final time. After decades of uneasy relations, today marked a historic moment: Earth's formal address to the Galactic Council's Reconciliation Summit. In the audience chamber, representatives from 17 galactic civilizations shifted in their varied anatomies, a sea of colors, textures, and appendages. The Solar Alliance, Earth, Mars, and their shared lunar colonies occupied only a small section, barely noticeable amid the splendor of ancient species who had traversed the stars when humans were still discovering fire. Commander Dean Carter, the ambassador's son, watched from the security balcony with a detached coolness that belied the tension in his shoulders. His military uniform, adorned with the insignia of Earth's Defense Force, seemed almost primitive compared to the ornate regalia of the Council's own guardians. Unlike his diplomatic father, Dean had always been a man of action rather than words. War had shaped him. Peace made him restless. "Quite the spectacle, isn't it?" A voice beside him belonged to Ilan, his former squadron mate. "Your father looks ready to make history." Dean nodded, his eyes never leaving the stage. "He's been preparing this speech for months. Says it could change everything for Earth." Ambassador Carter approached the central podium, bathed in a spotlight that made his silver hair gleam. The chamber quieted as he placed his hands on either side of the lectern, his weathered face solemn yet hopeful. "Distinguished members of the Galactic Council, honored delegates, I stand before you not merely as Earth's voice, but as a representative of humanity's enduring spirit." His words resonated through the chamber, translated simultaneously into 17 languages. Dean watched his father's confident gestures, the way he'd always commanded a room, whether negotiating peace treaties or scolding his teenage son for stealing the family shuttle. "Our journey among the stars has been brief by your magnificent timescales, but what we lack in history, we offer in vision and—" The shot came without warning. A flash of blue light erupted from somewhere in the upper tiers. Ambassador Carter's body jerked backward, a look of surprise freezing on his face as his chest bloomed with an unnatural violet glow. The microphone captured his final gasp before he collapsed to the floor. Chaos erupted. Delegates scattered. Security forces swarmed the chamber. On screens across Earth, Mars, and every human settlement, billions watched in horror as their ambassador's lifeless body lay sprawled across the galactic stage. Dean's world narrowed to that single image, his father's blood pooling beneath the emblem of Earth's olive branch. "Commander Carter," his communicator crackled with the voice of Admiral Santos. "Emergency protocols activated. You're granted temporary command authority. The President's direct order. Answer with fire." Dean's hand closed around his sidearm. His father's final expression burned into his memory. "Understood," he replied, his voice deadly calm as he turned to Ilan. "Prepare the Aegis for immediate deployment." The universe had just changed, and humanity would answer. The Aegis hung in Earth's orbit like a predator ready to pounce. Once a research vessel, it had been transformed into humanity's most formidable warship, retrofitted with reverse-engineered technology from a dozen alien civilizations. Its hull bore scars from previous encounters with hostile forces, each mark a testament to human resilience. Commander Dean Carter strode through its corridors with purposeful steps, the crew parting before him with a mixture of respect and apprehension. The news of Ambassador Carter's assassination had spread like wildfire, igniting a flame of outrage that burned through every deck and compartment. "Status report," Dean demanded as he entered the bridge, where officers worked with frantic precision at their stations. "All systems operational," replied Lieutenant Commander Vega, the ship's executive officer. "Weapon systems primed. Shields at maximum capacity. We await your orders, sir. Dean's gaze fell on the tactical display, where Sarkin Prime glowed like a malevolent jewel. And our intelligence? Limited, Ilan said, stepping forward. She had transferred to the Aegis immediately following the assassination, her loyalty to Dean unquestioned. The Council has locked down the planet. All communications are being monitored. They're claiming it was a rogue action, not sanctioned by any Council member. Convenient, Dean muttered. What about the weapon signature? That's where things get interesting. A new voice joined the conversation. Dr. Kova entered the bridge, her lab coat contrasting sharply with the military uniforms surrounding her. As the ship's lead scientist, she had been analyzing the assassination footage frame by frame. The energy signature doesn't match any known Sarkin weapon. In fact, it appears to be of Trilaxian origin. Dean's brow furrowed. The Trilaxians have been neutral in galactic politics for centuries. Exactly, Kova said, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of discovery despite the grim circumstances. Someone wants to complicate this further, perhaps trigger a multi-front conflict. Dean turned to face the viewport, where Earth rotated slowly below them, a blue jewel oblivious to the storm about to break across the galaxy. His father had believed in diplomacy until his final breath. Dean had always favored a more direct approach. Set course for the Sarkin border outpost in the Cygnus sector, he ordered. Their escort fleet passes through there. I want to intercept them before they reach their home system. Sir, Vega hesitated. That's an act of war. Dean's eyes hardened. They fired the first shot when they killed our ambassador. My father. His voice didn't waver. We're not starting a war. We're finishing one. As the Aegis's engines roared to life, propelling the warship toward its target, Dean retreated to his quarters, his father's old office. The room remained unchanged, filled with artifacts from diplomatic missions across the galaxy. A hologram on the desk showed Ren and Dean Carter, years younger, standing before the first human colony on Mars. Dean activated his father's secure terminal, searching for any clues about what the ambassador had discovered that warranted his elimination. The files were encrypted, but as his son, Dean possessed the necessary clearance. Hours passed as he sifted through diplomatic communications, treaty drafts, and personal notes. Then he found it, a heavily encrypted file labeled Seal Accord. As the decryption program worked, Dean's communicator chimed. Commander, Ilan's voice came through. We're approaching the Cygnus outpost. Sarkin vessels detected. I'll be right there, Dean replied, his eyes fixed on the terminal as the file finally opened. What he saw made his blood run cold. The Seal Accord wasn't just any treaty. It was a secret agreement between certain Earth officials and members of the Galactic Council, signed decades ago when humanity first ventured beyond their solar system. In exchange for technology and protection, Earth had agreed to limitations on its military expansion and resource acquisition that went far beyond public treaties. The terms effectively rendered humanity subordinate for generations to come. And his father had discovered it. Dean stormed onto the bridge, his face set in grim determination. New intelligence suggests we're dealing with a conspiracy that goes beyond the Council. My father discovered something they didn't want revealed. The assassination was a cover-up? Ilan asked. More likely a warning to others who might expose the truth. Dean turned to the tactical display. How many Sarkin vessels at the outpost? 3 escort cruisers and 1 diplomatic transport, Vega reported. Perfect, Dean said. We're going to capture that transport. I want to know who they're protecting. The Aegis dropped out of faster-than-light travel with predatory grace, its weapon systems immediately locking onto the smaller Sarkin vessels. The element of surprise gave them a critical advantage. Open a channel, Dean ordered. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a startled Sarkin officer, his iridescent scales reflecting the emergency lights flashing behind him. This is Commander Dean Carter of the Earth vessel Aegis. Your council has committed an act of war against humanity. Surrender your transport ship and its passengers, or face immediate destruction. The Sarkin officer's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly. This is outrageous. We are a diplomatic convoy with council immunity. Your council's immunity died with our ambassador. Dean interrupted. You have 30 seconds to comply. As the countdown began, the Sarkin vessels moved into defensive positions around the transport. Dean had anticipated this. Target their propulsion systems only, he instructed. We want them disabled, not destroyed. The Aegis's advanced weapon systems made quick work of the escort cruisers, precision strikes leaving them drifting helplessly in space. The transport, realizing its vulnerability, attempted to flee. Tractor beam, Dean commanded. A beam of energy shot forth from the Aegis, ensnaring the transport and pulling it inexorably toward the human warship. Within minutes, boarding teams had secured the vessel, bringing its passengers, high-ranking Sarkin officials, before Dean in the Aegis's conference room. You've committed an act of piracy, sputtered a Sarkin diplomat, his ceremonial robes disheveled from the rough handling. The Council will never. The Council murdered my father in front of the entire galaxy, Dean cut him off. Now, you're going to tell me everything you know about the Seal Accord and why Ambassador Carter had to die for discovering it. The diplomat's expression shifted from outrage to fear. I don't know what you're talking about. Dr. Kova stepped forward, holding a data pad. Interesting. According to the transport's navigation logs, you were diverted from your original route specifically to avoid Earth space. Orders came directly from Counselor Dravk. Dravk, Dean repeated, recognition flashing in his eyes. He was present at my father's assassination. This proves nothing, the diplomat insisted, though his voice had lost its conviction. Perhaps not, Dean agreed. But it gives us our next destination. He turned to Ilan. Set course for Sarkin Prime. We're going to pay Counselor Dravk a personal visit. As the Aegis continued its journey deeper into Council space, Dean found himself torn between his military training, which demanded strategic precision, and his grief, which called for vengeance. The ship's crew watched him carefully, some with admiration, others with concern. In the ship's mess hall, Ilan found him staring at tactical displays, plotting approach vectors to Sarkin Prime. You know they'll be expecting us now, she said, sliding into the seat across from him. The element of surprise is gone. Good, Dean replied without looking up. Let them prepare. Let them fear. Ilan studied her old friend's face, noting the dark circles under his eyes, the tension in his jaw. Dean, I followed you into this because I believe in you. But I need to know, is this about justice or revenge? Dean finally met her gaze. Does it matter? Either way, the people responsible will pay. It matters, she insisted. Your father believed in something greater than retaliation. He believed in humanity's place among the stars. And look where that got him, Dean snapped, immediately regretting his words when he saw the hurt in Ilan's eyes. He softened his tone. I'm sorry. I can't let them get away with this. Not just for him, but for Earth. This Seal Accord, it's been holding us back for decades. We've been playing by rules designed to keep us weak. Then, let's expose the truth, Ilan suggested. Not just destroy those responsible. That's what your father would have wanted. Before Dean could respond, the ship's alarms blared. Commander to the bridge, Vega's voice announced over the intercom. We've got company. Dean and Ilan raced to the bridge, where the tactical display showed 3 Council warships on an intercept course. They're hailing us, Vega reported. On screen, Dean ordered. The face that appeared belonged to a species Dean recognized as Meridian, humanoid, with distinctive ridged foreheads and pale blue skin. Earth vessel. This is Captain Thorin of the Council Security Force. You have committed acts of aggression against Council members. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Dean smiled thinly. I don't think so, Captain. We're on a mission of justice. The Council has committed murder and conspiracy against Earth. Stand down, or share in their fate. You are outmatched, Commander, Thoran warned. This is your final warning. Dean cut the transmission and turned to his tactical officer. Target their lead ship. Show them exactly how outmatched we are. The Aegis's main weapon, a particle accelerator modified with alien technology, powered up, its energy signature causing the smaller Council vessel's sensors to scramble in confusion. When it fired, the beam cut through the lead ship's shields like they weren't there, slicing its hull open to the vacuum of space. The other ships are breaking formation, Vega reported, unable to keep the awe from his voice. They're retreating. Let them go, Dean ordered. Let them report what happened. I want the Council to know we're coming. As the Aegis continued its journey toward Sarkin Prime, Dean returned to his quarters to study the Seal Accord more thoroughly. The document revealed a pattern of deception spanning decades. Earth had been manipulated, its resources exploited while its military capabilities were deliberately stunted through seemingly benevolent, technological assistance programs. A knock at his door interrupted his reading. Dr. Kova entered, carrying a small metallic object. I've completed my analysis of the weapon fragment recovered from your father's body, she said, placing the object on his desk. It's definitely Tralaxian in origin, but with modifications consistent with Council Security Forces standard protocols. So it was a Council hit disguised as a third-party attack, Dean concluded. Yes, but there's more. Kova activated a holographic display showing the molecular structure of the fragment. This particular alloy is only manufactured in facilities controlled by Councillor Drafk's family consortium. The trail leads directly to him. Dean's hand closed around the fragment. We have our proof. Now we need to make sure the entire galaxy sees it. As the Aegis approached Sarkin Prime, the full might of the Council's defense fleet moved to intercept them. Dozens of warships formed a blockade, their weapons trained on the solitary Earth vessel. They're hailing us again, Vega announced. This time, the face on the screen belonged to Councillor Drafk himself, his reptilian features arranged in an expression of stern authority. Commander Carter, your reckless actions have gone far enough. Surrender now, and the Council may show leniency. Dean leaned forward. Councillor Drafk, how convenient. I was just coming to see you. We have much to discuss, like why the weapon that killed my father bears your family's manufacturing signature. Drafk's composure slipped momentarily before he recovered. Absurd accusations from a grief-stricken son. You have violated Council space, attacked diplomatic vessels, and now threaten the Council's capital. Stand down immediately. I don't think so, Dean replied calmly. You see, I've discovered the Seal Accord. I know how the Council has been manipulating Earth for decades, and I know my father was killed because he found out too. Genuine alarm flashed across Drafk's face. You're making a terrible mistake, Commander. The full might of the Council fleet stands against you. One ship cannot hope to prevail. Dean smiled. Watch us. The transmission ended, and Dean turned to his crew. Battle stations. Execute Plan Omega. Plan Omega was a desperate gambit, relying on the Aegis's superior technology and the element of surprise. As the Council fleet closed in, the Aegis suddenly accelerated to maximum speed, aiming directly for the heart of the formation. Shields at maximum, Dean ordered, as enemy fire began to impact their defenses. Weapons target their command and control nodes only. The Aegis tore through the blockade, its advanced shields absorbing punishment that would have vaporized any other Earth vessel. Its precision strikes disrupted the Council fleet's coordination, causing confusion in their ranks. We're taking damage, Vega reported, as the ship shuddered under the assault. Shields at 60% and falling. Stay on course, Dean insisted. We need to reach the broadcast tower. Sarkin Prime's central broadcast tower was the nexus of all communication throughout Council space. If they could access it, They could transmit the truth about the Seal Accord and Ambassador Carter's assassination to every world in the galaxy. As they fought their way through the defensive grid, a smaller council vessel broke formation, positioning itself alongside the Aegis, rather than opposing it. A transmission came through on a secure channel. "Commander Carter," a female voice spoke. "This is Delegate Zara Thane of the Meridian Confederation. Not all of us support the Council's actions against Earth. I can help you reach the broadcast tower." Dean exchanged looks with Ilan. "This could be a trap," she warned. "Or it could be our only chance," he countered. "Delegate Thane, we're listening." Thane's ship provided covering fire as the Aegis descended toward Sarkin Prime's surface, drawing away several Council pursuers. With her guidance, they navigated through gaps in the planetary defense grid, finally reaching the massive structure of the broadcast tower. "We can't land," Vega pointed out. "Their ground defenses are too heavy." Dean turned to Ilan. "Then we drop in. Assemble a strike team. We're going to take that tower." Armed with the evidence of Council treachery and equipped with Earth's most advanced combat gear, Dean led a team including Ilan and Dr. Kova to the surface. They battled their way through the tower's defenses, floor by floor, until they reached the central broadcasting chamber. "Seal the doors," Dean ordered as his team secured the room. "Kova, get to work on the transmission system." As Dr. Kova worked to override the security protocols, Ilan monitored the approaching Council forces. "We've got maybe 10 minutes before they break through," she reported. "It'll be enough," Dean assured her, connecting the data drive containing the Seal Accord files to the broadcast system. Suddenly, the main door exploded inward, and Council security forces poured through the breach. In the ensuing firefight, Dean was separated from Ilan, forced to take cover behind a console as energy weapons scorched the air around him. Through the chaos, he spotted a familiar figure, Counselor Dravk, surrounded by personal guards, observing the battle from a protected alcove. Their eyes met across the room, and Dean saw the hatred and fear in the counselor's gaze. With a determined surge, Dean fought his way toward Dravk, driven by the image of his father's body lying on the council floor. When he finally cornered the counselor, his weapon trained on the alien's chest, Dravk sneered. "Go ahead, human. Prove to the galaxy that your kind are nothing but violent savages, unworthy of their place among civilized species." Dean's finger tensed on the trigger, vengeance within his grasp. Then he remembered Ilan's words, and his father's lifelong commitment to justice over retribution. "No," Dean said. "You don't get to die a martyr. You're going to live to face justice for what you've done." He used his free hand to connect a neural restraint to Dravk's neck, immobilizing the counselor. "And you're going to watch as the truth is revealed to everyone." Across the room, Dr. Kova shouted in triumph, "Transmission ready! Broadcasting now!" The tower's systems hummed with power as the Seal Accord documents, the evidence of Ambassador Carter's assassination, and Dravk's involvement began streaming to every world in Council space. Screens throughout the galaxy displayed the conspiracy that had kept humanity leashed while presenting the illusion of fair cooperation. As the broadcast continued, the fighting in the tower gradually ceased. Council forces, seeing their leaders exposed, began to stand down. Many had been unaware of the extent of the deception, believing they were defending galactic peace rather than a corrupt elite's power. Dean dragged Counselor Dravk to the broadcast platform. "Tell them," he demanded, forcing the alien to face the transmission cameras. "Tell them why you killed Earth's ambassador." Under the weight of the evidence and the galaxy's gaze, Dravk's arrogance crumbled. "The Seal Accord was necessary," he insisted. "Humans advanced too quickly, developed too dangerously. You needed to be controlled for the good of all." "And my father?" Dean pressed. Dravk's multiple eyelids flickered in what might have been shame. "He discovered the original documents. He was going to reveal everything in his address to the Council. We..." Couldn't allow that. So you murdered him, Dean said, his voice surprisingly calm. In front of the entire galaxy. A necessary action for galactic stability, Drufk maintained, though his voice lacked conviction. Dean stepped back, addressing the camera directly. People of Earth, Mars, and all human colonies, you've been lied to. The limitations placed on our development, the technologies withheld, the resources denied, all part of a conspiracy to keep humanity subordinate. Today, we break those chains. He turned to include the broader galactic audience. To the peoples of the Council worlds, many of you have been deceived as well. Your leaders have acted not for peace, but for control. Today, we call for a new beginning. Not human dominance, but true cooperation. Not secrets and manipulation, but transparency and mutual respect. As Dean's words spread across the stars, the response was immediate and overwhelming. On countless worlds, citizens took to the streets, demanding answers from their representatives. On Earth and its colonies, a surge of unity swept through a population that had witnessed both tragedy and triumph in the span of days. The Council's emergency session, hastily convened as the scandal broke, was unlike any in its long history. With Councillor Drufk and his conspirators detained, moderate voices gained prominence, many expressing genuine shock at the revelation of the Seal Accord. Delegate Zara Thane, who had risked everything to help Dean's mission, addressed the fractured council. Today marks a turning point. We can continue down the path of deception and eventually face revolution across the galaxy. Or we can embrace a new era of genuine cooperation. The humans have shown both their power and their restraint. They could have destroyed us, but chose justice instead. In the days that followed, Dean found himself thrust into a diplomatic role he had never wanted nor prepared for. The irony wasn't lost on him, the soldier's son following in his diplomat father's footsteps after all. The Aegis remained in orbit around Sarkin Prime, a symbol of Earth's new position in galactic affairs. On its bridge, Dean stood with Ilon and Dr. Kova, watching the negotiations unfold on the planet below. What happens now? Ilon asked. We've exposed the truth, but we can't simply dismantle centuries of council governance. The power vacuum would lead to chaos. We don't need to dismantle it, Dean replied. We need to reform it. Earth deserves its rightful place, no more, no less. Dr. Kova looked up from her datapad. The Provisional Council is requesting your presence, Commander. They're ready to discuss terms. Dean nodded, straightening his uniform. No longer just a military outfit, but now a diplomat's attire as well. Let's not keep them waiting. As he prepared to return to the planet's surface, Dean visited the memorial that had been established in the ship's observation deck. Ambassador Ren Carter's image floated above a simple plaque, his kind eyes seeming to look toward the stars with the same wonder he'd maintained throughout his life. I wish you could see this, Father, Dean said quietly. We answered with fire, just as they ordered, but we're ending with peace, just as you would have wanted. The new Galactic Accord, signed 2 weeks after the broadcast, abolished the secret restrictions of the Seal Accord. Earth and its colonies were recognized as full and equal members of the galactic community, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. The conspiracy's architects faced public trials, their sentences ranging from exile to rehabilitation depending on their level of involvement. Not everyone was satisfied with the outcome. Some humans called for more aggressive measures, arguing that the Council couldn't be trusted regardless of treaties. Others feared that humanity's forceful response had only confirmed the Council's worst suspicions about their species' volatile nature. Dean understood both perspectives, but remained committed to the middle path. Vigilant strength coupled with genuine cooperation. The Aegis and other Earth vessels would continue to patrol their borders, but they would also participate in joint scientific missions and cultural exchanges. On the day the Aegis finally departed Sarkin Prime, Dean stood on the bridge with a new sense of purpose. The ship that had been his instrument of vengeance would now serve as a guardian of the fragile peace they had forged. "Course set for Earth," Vega announced. "The President is eager to meet with you." Dean nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars ahead. "Take us home." Beside him, Ilan smiled. "What will you tell the President when she asks about your next assignment?" Dean considered the question. The military had offered him a promotion, a fleet command that would keep him at the forefront of Earth's defenses. The new council had hinted at a diplomatic position, following in his father's footsteps. "I'll tell her that I'm not done yet," he finally answered. There are still unanswered questions. The Seal Accord conspiracy ran deep, and we've only scratched the surface. And there are other species out there who were manipulated just as we were. They deserve the truth as well. Dr. Kova joined them, her usually analytical expression softened by the magnitude of recent events. "The broadcast did more than expose a conspiracy," she observed. "It cracked open centuries of secrecy. Delegations from a dozen worlds have requested meetings with Earth representatives. They see us as liberators." "A dangerous reputation," Dean cautioned. "Liberation can quickly become imposition if we're not careful." As the Aegis accelerated toward Earth, leaving the Council's capital behind, Dean couldn't help but feel that this was not an ending, but a beginning. Humanity had answered provocation with fire, but their true strength had been revealed in their restraint, in choosing justice over vengeance, truth over destruction. The stars streaked past the viewport, each one representing worlds and civilizations that would now view humanity through a different lens. No longer naive newcomers to be manipulated, nor uncontrollable savages to be feared, but equals with whom the future would be negotiated. Dean thought of his father's final speech, cut short by assassination. Ambassador Carter had intended to speak of vision, humanity's unique perspective that, though young by galactic standards, offered fresh insights to ancient civilizations set in their ways. "We're entering faster than light," Vega announced, as the ship's engines hummed with power. Dean nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, not just for Earth's security, but for its place in a complex galactic community. "Take us home," he repeated, his voice steady with resolve. "We have work to do." The Aegis vanished into the depths of space, leaving behind a transformed galaxy. They had answered with fire, but it was the fire of truth, burning away deception and illuminating a path forward, not just for humanity, but for all species who sought genuine cooperation among the stars. In his quarters later, Dean found a message waiting for him, a final communication from his father, set to deliver automatically upon confirmation of his death. As Ambassador Carter's face appeared in the hologram, Dean felt a lump in his throat. "Dean," his father's image spoke. "If you're seeing this, then I've failed to navigate the dangers I've uncovered. The Seal Accord was just the beginning. There are deeper secrets, older agreements that shaped our history long before we reached the stars. I've compiled what I know in a secure location on Mars. The coordinates are attached to this message. Be careful, son. The truth is more complex than simple villains and heroes. And remember, our strength lies not in our weapons, but in our humanity." The message ended, leaving Dean with more questions than answers. But as the Aegis carried him back to Earth, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. His father's work wasn't finished. Perhaps it never would be. But humanity would continue to move forward, answering deception with truth, hatred with justice, and fear with hope. Among the ancient civilizations of the galaxy, they were still young, still learning. But they had proven one thing beyond doubt. They would not be silenced. They would not be controlled. And they would forge their own destiny among the stars. The fire of humanity had been lit, and the galaxy would never be the same.